Hello and welcome to episode 18 of Giant Mess. I am your host, Neal Lynch. I am a giant mess. I'm a Giants and Mets fan who loves movies, comedy, TV, and a whole lot more. On this week's episode, we're going to be talking about my buddy's wedding down in Avalon, New Jersey. How did that go? How did that fare? Did I make an ass out of myself? Find out. Tune in at 11. We'll also talk about my trip to Los Angeles for my first few days on the new job. Godzilla King of the Monsters, Terminator Dark Fate, Brittany Runs a Marathon. What? And of course, as always, we'll talk about the Mets and Giants. With the Mets, they're rounding out their coaching staff, and it looks like they are moving closer to a nice trade that I think I like with the Pittsburgh Pirates for a center fielder. And that's all the info I'm going to give you. And then, of course, we'll finish up with the Giants, their historic loss to the Bears. It is historic. Make no bones about it. Definitely history in the making with that loss. And then I'll give a very half-assed preview of the Packers game. I don't think anyone really cares what I have to say about that. So with that, let's dive right in. It's been 2 weeks, folks, and the reason it's been 2 weeks, it's on me. And I think most serious, hardcore podcasters, content creators, what have you, they would have done the show while traveling. But knowing my luck, I probably would have been arrested for paraphernalia by carrying this gigundo microphone with me and this camera, and it's probably not a good look, and I probably would have had an anal cavity search, and it just would have all gone downhill from there. So I didn't bring my equipment. I thought about it, but I didn't, and so that's why there was no show last week. And probably fitting because the Giants had a bye week, so I had a bye week. That's how it goes. Me and the Giants are one. But I did have I mentioned in my last episode that I was going on the juice on the raw, in the raw, from the raw diet. And that was for a wedding, so I could fit into my tux. We had that wedding. It was down in Avalon, New Jersey. It was my buddy from high school. We played baseball together. Consider him to be a good dude. Though he has some views on Trump that are interesting. Not going to get into it. But Avalon, New Jersey. And you think of New Jersey, it's like, you look at it on a map, you're like, that's not that big. I could probably get through that in a quick jiff. Hop, skip, and a jump. Well, you'd be wrong. It takes like 4 hours to get from where I am in Passaic County, New Jersey, North Jersey, down to Avalon, which is pretty much near Cape May, the southern tip of New Jersey. Fun fact, I actually have never really been in Avalon other than the time that me and my buddies, college buddies, tried to drive down through the southern tip of New Jersey en route to Baltimore. Can't do it. At least I don't know. I was informed this past weekend that we could have done it. We could have got a car ferry. Well, we're not thinking. We were 21. Young, dumb, and full of cum. We just wanted to get down there and party and rage for New Year's Eve, 2001. Which that ended up being a disaster. That's a story for another time. The wedding was good. I liked it. It was fun to reconnect with a lot of people I haven't seen from high school. One of my friends, actually the catcher on the baseball team, had a hose for an arm, probably the strongest arm on the team. Dressed like John Wick. Thought that was entertaining. He looked deadly in his all black tux. Intimidating as fuck. And then another kid I haven't seen since freshman year of baseball, where he got beaned and charged the mound with a metal bat. The most badass thing I've ever seen in real life. And also had my favorite second baseman. I said he's my favorite second baseman, but it's a tough one. I've had a lot of. I used to play shortstop in baseball, and there are a lot of second basemen who I've teamed up with, and he's one of my favorites. Just a smooth fielder. Always double plays were never an issue. I love that we communicate with the behind the glove, mouth open, mouth closed. You got it, I got it, that kind of thing. So it was good seeing everyone. Definitely had a great time. Broke the slump, and I'll let the men connect the dots on that one. I'm married now, and we had a baby, and things tend to fall to the wayside when you have a baby, especially in the bedroom. But broke that slump. It's something about hotels just gets the blood going. Don't know why. But yeah, so that was good. had a lot of fun. We had to go down to my mother-in-law's in Bucks County, PA, where M. Night Shyamalan is from, to drop off the baby. And then, so that was about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then you drive another hour and a half, 2 hours down to this hotel in Avalon, NJ. And, yeah, I mean, beautiful. The ceremony that we didn't attend. The ceremony was like small, private, on the roof during what could have been a tropical storm. I heard it was cold and windy up there, so I'm not sure that there's going to be a lot of great memories from the ceremony. But the reception was tight. Had a blast. Had a great time. And yeah, I mean, he ended up going on a honeymoon to the same place that I went to a honeymoon, the Four Seasons Resort in Nevis, St. Kitts and Nevis. Nevis, which I believe is also the term for the hairy spot on my back. Fun fact. Not that you needed to know. TMI, oversharing, whatever. But it was a good time. I had a great time. Food was good. Although I don't know what I ate that didn't agree with me, but I pooped like 4 times in 4 hours the next morning. Yeah. Woke up, and before noon, I had made 4 special deliveries. I mean, that's got to be a record. I don't think anyone can argue with that. I did have chocolate chip pancakes for the first time in a long time. When high school, that was like a staple for breakfast, chocolate chip pancakes, which I don't know how pancakes are breakfast food. I don't understand how pasta is considered a dinner. I think pasta is a dessert. And I think pancakes are a dessert. I think anything that is that sweet and tastes that good, that's like a little special treat for dessert. Shouldn't be a part of your daily recommended routine. So the day after the wedding, Sunday, I had to fly to Los Angeles. So I'm coming off a poop storm, just a poop avalanche. It's just nonstop. And then I got to get on a flight for, 4 or 5 hours to LA that night. So, I was dragging ass on Monday. My first official day on the new job I was in the LA office because my boss is in the LA office having orientation there. And I gotta say, I'm impressed by how little the front desk lady gave a shit about who I was and what I was doing there. That the receptionist, whatever you want to call it, I don't even know what the appropriate term is anymore. I'm over it. You're a person. You handle queries from people coming off the streets, and this woman wanted no communication with me whatsoever. I was just like, all right, hot start to the new job. But no, the time in LA was amazing. I met a lot of good people there at the new job. It's the most comfortable I've felt in an office environment, at a job, possibly ever. I just felt welcome. Felt like I was already part of the team from day one. So that's good. It's going to dramatically affect this show. Normally this show goes for like 3-4 hours sometimes of recording. I'm going to try and limit this recording to 1 hour. So maybe there'll be like, I don't know, maybe some director's cut that'll, circle the webs when I die. But I'm going to try and limit this to 1 hour. The flight, so I guess there was some weird shit. The flight to LA, before I got on the plane to LA, at the airport in Newark, I ordered dinner, and I ordered a burger and a Truly. Shout out Truly. The burger was $20+. Well, I mean, I know that you have a captive audience, airports. I'm talking to you, airports. But $20 for a burger doesn't make sense. It's just not. I mean, that's how the revolution starts. That's how chairs get tossed, tables get tossed, and knives are thrown, forks are stabbed. You can't. I don't get it. $20+ for a fucking burger, and then So that's the wound. Here's the salt going into the wound. I had the Cardinals plus 9.5 and the over. And if you're familiar with the Cardinals 49ers game from a couple Sundays ago, you know that it looked like it was a lock. There was like 20 seconds left, 30 seconds left. 49ers came back. They went up by like 3 or something like that, maybe 4. Kyler Murray drops back, throws it to Larry Fitz, tries to make a move, tries to lateral, and it looks like, okay, there's a big scrum and a scramble for the ball, big heap of bodies on the ground, on the field. And then this football just shoots out of the pile like a cannon, like Evil Knievel coming out of a cannon. 49ers recover it and score a touchdown. So, you want to talk about all-time bad beats? That was how... so, $20+ burger, bad beat on the Cardinals plus 9.5 in the over. And then I had a woman who was on my flight, of course, screaming into her phone nonstop to some family member. It's a sister, mother, grandmother, whatever, just nonstop. And when that happens, I don't do shit. I try to just move away, maybe listen to some music, watch something, distract myself. People don't get it. Like, if you're above a certain age, don't you get it by now? Like, haven't you seen a screaming person on a phone and know not to interrupt that person and not to try and get involved because it's just going to go way downhill? And, of course, this other guy just didn't get the memo and tries to be like, excuse me, lady or sweetie or baby or whatever he said to her. Like, can you please calm down and not scream? And when you say that, you are lighting the fuse. You've lit the fuse. That woman is now... her goal is no longer on this phone call. Her goal is to make your life living hell. So kudos to that guy for stepping in or trying to, I don't know, trying to sedate the situation. I don't know, sedate, masturbate. But it didn't work, and it never will work. I don't think it's ever worked in the history of humankind. I mean, you literally have to just, if you're really that bothered by it, like maybe you get a security guard who's having a bad day. Maybe you just find someone with some kind of authority who's just not having it. Someone who's just like, okay, this lady's pissed off and here, that level, you gotta find someone in a position of authority who's up a step above them, who's had some shit happen to them that day, and then you can have that person removed. But I was not about that boss. So, of course, she was on the flight, and of course, she was yelling into her phone the whole time we're getting ready to take off. And this is, my last cross-country flight was Hawaii, and we all know what happened on that. I didn't address it here on the show or the podcast, but oh boy, that was like 3 different people, drunk, possibly high on pills, who just couldn't contain themselves, couldn't control it. I don't know if it was fear or anxiety or what, but just like and again, you tell them to calm down and shut up. It's just like, you're just pour some gasoline on that fire. Ugh. So I got to the hotel, very nice hotel, probably a little too pricey. I think I definitely went over budget for the travel plans for this work trip. And I was like, wow, this is it's on the Marina Del Rey Hotel. And I was like, wow, it's on the Marina. It's it's costing the company enough. Hopefully I'll get reimbursed for this. And I'm tired. It's probably 2 something my time. It's 11 something local time. And I get in the room and it just stinks. Literally smells. And I had to end up heading, and I'm not the kind of person that likes to complain or anything like that. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna suck it up, and I'm gonna put the hotel supplied moisturizer underneath my nostrils, and I'll just smell that for the rest of the night. I think I adjusted to it after a while, but it was pretty tough to take. How does a room like that smell? And I thought maybe it's the marina. Maybe a fish, like we had like a Finding Nemo situation where like fish escaped a dentist's office and they're like somehow made it into my room. I don't know. What kind of hotel is this, Neil? Oh, great question. This is the kind of hotel it is. You go to the restaurant in the hotel and you say, oh, I'd love to be sat outside because it's nice. It's LA weather. And there's a fire pit, and then there's just nowhere to put your food. Like, do you put the food on your lap? Put the plate on your lap? Do you or you have to like overextend yourself, hyperextend yourself just to reach the edge of the fire pits to put your plate down. I ordered a hobo steak sandwich. That shit cost $44. $44. Again, who is coming up with the pricing schemes here? It's the guy who gave me the $20 burger. He definitely came up with the $44 hobo steak sandwich. I mean, how ironic, too. Hobo steak sandwich? You're going to charge $44 for a hobo steak sandwich. Alrighty then. The weather held up for the most part. I think the funniest part of the trip had to be the fact that, in the morning I'm watching the morning news, and the weather woman comes on. She's in a state of panic, and she's freaking out. And she goes, I think Wednesday might be a rain day, so be on alert. Rain day coming our way. And I'm just thinking, rain day? Like she's saying as if it's a snow day. Like, does the city shut down when there's rain? There's no school? What the hell's going on here? Is work canceled? And I come to find out from an Uber driver, I was like, yeah, that's not bonkers that she said that. And the Uber driver said, well, it hasn't rained. I haven't seen rain in 8 or 9 months. And I was just like, hi. You just forget. You're on the different coast. I mean, you hear about the wildfires, but it's not, sorry to say, it doesn't really directly affect me in New Jersey. So it's like out of sight, out of mind almost. And at the time I didn't have a job. So it was like, I'm not conversing or contacting people from California that much. So I just kind of forgot about that and forgot about the drought and you just forget about it. I don't know, because you're so far removed from it. But not having rain for 8 or 9 months. And then the people not knowing how to drive in rain. And that's why it's like a state of emergency. It's so crazy. I had another Uber driver who was late picking me up. She, claimed, she said, I'm here. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're across the marina. You got to come around. So she comes around. I'm already late now because she's late. I didn't time it the right way. She came when she was supposed to come. I'm on time, but she didn't. She was late. So she picks me up, and like on the way to work, she has this special shortcut, which takes us way longer and takes way longer. So now I'm even later. And then she throws this at me. It's pretty chilly out. You don't want a jacket or a coat or anything like that, like poncho or something like that. I was like, no, I'm fine, honestly. She goes, oh, are you sure? I mean, there's a TJ Maxx we could go to. And I'm like, lady, I was supposed to be at work at 9:30. We're already 15 minutes late. Like, let's pick up the pace. You Cali broads. I went to my first ever dine-in movie theater. I thought that was cool. They have a little bar area. You get a drink, you get a beer, whatever mixed drink. You can take it into the movie theater. You get a nice little tray in the movie theater with a recliner. You can order. Of course, I ordered boneless wings and gourmet popcorn, which you can't throw gourmet in front of something and think that's like a cure-all. I mean, that's not gonna. I mean, you got me. But that's a one and done situation. You've tricked me once. Shame on me. But I will not fall for gourmet popcorn anymore. I want to do half spicy cheddar, half salted caramel. And what they brought out was like those novelty popcorn buckets that you get for Christmas. And they threw some like flaming hot Cheetos on one side, or hot Taki, whatever the hell you call it. I'm like, this is not what I wanted, but I'm starving, so I'll down the whole thing, which I did. Of course, the boneless wings, quote unquote, didn't come until like halfway through the movie. The 2-hour plus movie came halfway through the movie. I had to actually ring them and buzz them to remind them, like, hey, just checking in on the status. Boneless wings doesn't take forever. It's not a lava cake or whatever the hell it is. You have to order like 3 days in advance. And as soon as they asked her where it was, it came in like 2 minutes. And then when it came, was not boneless wings. I know what boneless wings look like. They're wings without the bones. They're not chicken wing. They're not chicken tenders. That's not that. Those are chicken tenders. They're not chicken fingers. Those are chicken fingers. Boneless wings without the bone. So disappointed in the experience. It also kind of removes you from the movie watching experience. Like as you're trying to watch and there's like a huge scene, you see someone like walk in front of you to take someone's order and they're talking loud and you're just like looking at and then you're totally taken out of the scene. So Not a big fan of the dine-in movie theater, I don't think. But if any dine-in movie theaters want to change my mind and offer me a lifetime free membership, I'll be willing to consider it. Of course, I had to take the red eye back to Newark. And I unfortunately picked the middle seat. And I can sleep on planes. That's not a problem for me. In fact, as soon as I sit down, I'm lights out. I can go to La La Land, Dreamsville, in 0.5 seconds on a plane. No problem. But not when I'm in the middle seat and the people, each person on either side of me is like wiggly squiggly. Like cannot stand still, cannot sit still. So the red eye was extra red that day. It's and the planes are quicker now. So it was a 4-hour flight, which is nuts. And so I probably slept for like maybe 2 hours, 3 hours. And you'd think it was my first day in the New York office. And so you thought I would be brain dead and unfocused and like I would have lost respect to my peers and whatnot, colleagues. And I like crushed it. It's like maybe I should not sleep more often. But that Thursday back in the office, it was my first time ever having Arby's. Never had Arby's. And you know what? For anyone who says marketing, advertising doesn't work, you're wrong. Because all those damn commercials with H. John Benjamin, the voice of Archer, amongst other things. I mean, he's done a ton of shit, but those commercials got to me. I was like, damn, those sandwiches look good. I don't know why Arby's is getting so much shit. And then I ordered takeout from Arby's, and I was like, oh, okay. I saw them change, like, the squeezable cheese machine, and I was like, okay, I get it. I kind of get it. It wasn't bad. I just, it kind of ruined the allure from the commercials. So that was the trip to LA. That was the wedding down in Avalon. Both, so I was a little tuckered out when I came home, and it took a while to adjust. I honestly don't think I've adjusted yet. It still feels like I'm running on some weird time zone that I just can't get it together. I was going to try and review Watchmen, but I haven't seen this past Sunday's episode. I saw the previous episode, and I will just say real quickly, I loved it, and I have found little to nothing to dislike about this friggin' show. And it's sad because it probably won't get nominated for any awards or win any awards, but it really should. Because at this point, it's. I mean, in my mind, it's better than Game of Thrones. I don't know. So very excited about that. I like how they focused on Looking Glass. Wade, that was a good episode, and it even featured Hoboken. Shout out Hoboken. That was nice. That was a nice little pick me up. Of course, if you don't know me, you wouldn't know that I lived in Hoboken for a decade plus, and I miss it. I was actually back in Hoboken for Friendsgiving on Sunday, and if you ever wonder who lives in Hoboken, bros live in Hoboken, single bros. I'll tell you that much, because we drive in, find a parking spot, and I'm like shitting my pants because I know parking in Hoboken's like a joke. It's like you can't decrypt it. It's like the Da Vinci Code. I need Tom Hanks and a very bad haircut to help me out figuring out the parking in Hoboken, because it's just all over the place. So I park, I find a spot somehow, and I had dropped off my wife and my daughter at where we were going, so I could find a parking spot. I get out of the car. Of course, I have to carry my daughter's furry unicorn chair that she loves, and that we now have to bring with us everywhere we go. So I bring out the food that we're bringing, and I bring out the furry unicorn chair, the pink furry unicorn chair, and I'm walking down the street, and it's like a block, and these three dudes roll out of an apartment building, and it's Sunday, and it's game day, football, and the one guy, I walk by them, and the one guy just says, "What the fuck?" And I was like, dude, if you think this is my chair, get your head examined. So, ate a shit ton of Italian, and I fucking love Italian food, but it doesn't even agree with me anymore. I mean, that's all I ate growing up was pasta every friggin' night. And then when I got to college, like right out of college. I was like, I need to lose some goddamn weight. And so I went no carb for a very long time. And I didn't even touch pasta for a very long time. And so now when I see it, I eat all the pasta. And then my stomach is like, what? I'm not used to this. We got to stretch before we run. You got to crawl before you walk. What are you doing? All right, so that's life. That's the life section. Let's talk movies. Really quick, I saw this on, I don't know, Screen Rant. I'm gonna default to Screen Rant, but apparently there was a before 1989's Batman, directed by Tim Burton, starring Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. There was plans to do a Batman movie directed by Ivan Reitman in the early 80s. I want to say like 83. That would have starred Bill Murray as Batman, Bruce Wayne, and Eddie Murphy as Robin. Just let that settle in for a little bit. Apparently, according to this, I guess you can find the script online. But this person who wrote the article read it and kind of boiled it down to some plot points. And of course, we all know that Batman's impetus to become Batman, through the comics and multiple movies about him, is his parents get shot and they're killed by Joe Chill. And so that's why he's like, I'm gonna become Batman, and because I'm gonna fight crime and evildoers and whatnot. But nope, that's not the case with this Batman. 83 Batman starring Bill Murray. He just goes on to become a successful businessman. It's just like cool. And then he ends up sleeping with a reporter who says that he's idle and jaded with no ambition left, and that irritates him. So he speeds off, and he encounters a biker harassing a young couple and their child, ends up in a brawl with the entire biker gang, and then he returns home and he reflects on everything, and then that's when he discovers the Batcave, and that's when he becomes Batman. So I thought that was, there were a lot of interesting points to the movie, like Eddie Murphy as Robin isn't really introduced until like almost the end of the second act or something like that, like well into the movie, and you don't even see him in the Robin costume. And there was also a role for the Penguin, where he's employed by the Joker to kill Batman, and producers wanted John Candy for the role. Holy shitballs. Yeah. Can you imagine an alternate universe that actually gets made and produced, where we are with like superhero movie that just like the shockwaves it sends? Like, do we have 1989's Batman? Do we end up having, Batman Begins and the Nolan trilogy? I don't know. After that, yay. So on the flight to LA, to LA, I got to see Godzilla King of the Monsters, rated PG-13, a little over 2 hours. It was released in theaters the end of May 31st. Had a budget of around $200 million, and it made less than $400 million worldwide, only $110 million domestically. Yikes. It opened at number 2 behind Aladdin. It was out of the top 10 in the box office by July. The critics' consensus from Rotten Tomatoes delivers spectacular kaiju action and reaffirms that cutting-edge effects are still no substitute for a good story. And I just remember going into this thinking, I wanted to see it in the theater, but shit happens, so we weren't able to. But I remember hearing a lot when this came out about like the fight scenes and how you just could not see shit because every fight scene was in a snowstorm or a rainstorm or a hurricane or something that you just couldn't see shit. And people were saying they did that because, the special effects, they didn't have enough budget for the visual effects to make it look good or real, so they had to use snow and rain and sleet and whatnot, what have you, to disguise it. I don't know. 41% of critics gave it favorable reviews. 83% of the audience gave it favorable reviews. And the synopsis is: the cryptozoological agency Monarch faces off against a battery of god-sized monsters known as Titans, including the mighty Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan, and the three-headed King Ghidorah, who is known as Monster Zero in the movie. It was directed by Michael Dougherty, who wrote and directed Krampus and Trick or Treat. Krampus, I heard, is really good. I haven't seen it yet, and you can either watch it at Halloween or Christmas. So I'll probably maybe give that a go this holiday season. And Trick or Treat, I think I heard some good things about that too. So this guy, he knows his seasonal shit. Dougherty also wrote Superman Returns and X2, X-Men United. So he's got the superhero arc down. This was also co-written by Zach Shields, who co-wrote Krampus. Stars Kyle Chandler, as we all know from Friday Night Lights and Bloodline. He's also on Game Night and I believe The Town. Vera Farmiga, who I don't know if it was The Departed or what, and she wasn't even bad in The Departed, but every time I see her, I'm like, you're the bad guy. It's just one of those things. I don't know why. I just can't. I know she tries to come off like being given the sensitive eyes and pouty face and whatnot. And I'm just like, nah, you're bad. You're a bad chick. I just know it. So Kyle and Vera play a divorced couple in this film. I actually don't remember Godzilla. It came out in 2014. The only thing I really remember, and it's from I saw the movie start to finish, but I just remember in the trailer, like when they have one of the best trailers ever, where they have the paratroopers falling down through the sky out of the chopper or the plane, and like the red smoke coming out. That was boss. That's like the only thing I remember. So I don't even remember. To be honest, I don't even remember if like Kyle and Vera were in the first one. I just don't. Oops. So their daughter's played by Millie Bobby Brown, who does a pretty decent job. There's a lot of like, I don't know, maybe I missed this with the first movie. I don't know, but like, Millie Bobby Brown's reaction to her father when they're in the Antarctica scene and they're about to unfreeze Monster Zero, King Ghidorah. It was very like, whoa, like, okay, I know, your dad had a drinking problem, but like, how bad was his drinking problem? What the fuck? Like, abusive? That's the vibe I got, but maybe not. Ken Watanabe is in this as Dr. Ishiro Serizawa. Zhang. Every line that Ken Watanabe speaks, it's like the most important line in cinema history. He just can't deliver a normal line. Every line carries so much fucking weight. It's like, I'm brushing my teeth. And it's like, yeah, you're brushing your teeth, dude. We got it. Zhang. One of my favorite actress names of all time, CCH Pounder. I mean, like, would you like fries with that? Charles Dance plays like one of the bad guys. You might remember him as Tywin Lannister from Game of Thrones. I think he was also in Last Action Hero. He was like a bad guy in Last Action Hero. Thomas Middleditch is in this. You know him from Silicon Valley. And if you're a College Humor fan, like I am, he had some awesome sketches back in the day. He's also in those goddamn Verizon commercials. And O'Shea Jackson Jr., who is, I guess, Ice Cube's son. He was in Straight Outta Compton. I tend to side with the audience on this one. If you're a critic, like, what are you expecting? What do you want? Like, people came to see monsters, big ass monsters fight. That's what they came to see. So I don't know what you're expecting if you're a critic and you gave this an unfavorable review. I mean, this is all to set up Godzilla versus Kong. Like, we saw that after Kong Skull Island. They hinted at it there, and then they hinted at it again at the end of this movie. I don't understand how this, Vera Farmiga plays a doctor, a paleobiologist who creates this sound frequency device that's able to control the Titans or alter their behavior. And I guess spoilers ahead if you want to, I don't know, look at the timestamps if you don't want to get this shit spoiled. But I'm talking to the people who have seen this movie. Like, goddamn, man. Eco-terrorism. It's just like, and you're seeing this more often and more often. Ozymandias from Watchmen, the Thanos from the Avengers, like people that see the human race as a virus and think that we need to wipe out like the majority of the population in order for the Earth to survive, because they're more prone to side with like the Earth and the animals than they are people, and that's the case here. God damn. So I mean, I kind of wish that they spent I mean, it's already 2 hour plus movie, so I understand you don't want to spend too much time on the monsters, but I would have liked to see each of those scenes that they went into depth with, Rodan and what was the other one? Maybe Mothra and Monster Zero / King Ghidorah. Like, each of those scenes like was awesome. Just seeing the emergence of a monster and people being like, holy shit, and running away. Like, each of those was awesome. So I was kind of hoping for a little bit more of that than them just kind of showing like a hologram screen or whatever, and you just see like, oh, there are monsters everywhere. It's like, I would have liked to see, just give each one their like coming out of their shell moment. It would have been nice, but whatever. You find out that King Ghidorah is an ancient alien seeking to transform the Earth. Every time I see ancient alien, all I think about is that guy from the History Channel. Was the History Channel show Ancient Aliens with the funky hairs, just like looking all stoned and disheveled, trying to explain aliens. So I mean, they missed a big opportunity there to bring that guy in and be like, well, we have an expert here to tell us more about King Ghidorah. We were able to track him down, and then he comes in like looking all disheveled with his hair all over the place, like aliens. But yeah, I guess it would have affected the tone of the movie too much or some bullshit. The military shoots the oxygen destroyer at Godzilla and Monster Zero, and of course it nearly kills Godzilla, and it doesn't affect Monster Zero at all. Even though he gets his head cut off, it's like he grows it back. So Godzilla retreats to an ancient underwater city where he tries to recuperate, but he's taking too long. So they send down Ken Watanabe with a nuclear bomb to expedite the process, the healing process. And so that's the end. That's it for Ken Watanabe. A lot of sacrifice in this movie. Ken Watanabe sacrifices himself for the good of the land to speed up the process. I can't. It's like a movie-only thing, I think. I don't know that there are a ton of people out there that are like, yeah, of course, I'll just take a nuke bomb to the face for humanity, to save humanity. Yeah, sure, no problem. I don't know. If I'm in that situation, it's like, can I have a last meal? Or like, can I get a beach? Or like, can I just get something to like take the edge off? Maybe a little Xanax, something. I can't go into this sober and raw and... Ugh. So, of course, that wakes up Godzilla, and Madison, played by Millie Bobby Brown, is able to steal the Orca, the device that controls frequencies. Goes to Fenway Park. So, obviously, this movie was written by a Red Sox fan. There's a lot of mention of Boston and Fenway Park, and it's like, or maybe a Yankees fan. I don't know. Maybe the Yankees fan is like, I would like to see Fenway Park and Boston totally destroyed on screen. I think one of the coolest scenes is Godzilla, when Godzilla's radiation levels are off the charts and increasing, and he's like about to like explode, thermonuclear explosion, and you can just see him like glowing, and he's just like melting everything in his path, just by walking, just melting everything. And Godzilla and Mothra have like a little thing going on, I guess. I don't know. They're like friends, but it's hard to, my rom-com brain was like, oh, Mothra and Godzilla, oh, a good little pair, a good little couple. It's like a moth and a lizard. Do it. No. So, yeah. Of course, Vera Farmiga as Dr. Emma Russell ends up luring away King Ghidorah and sacrificing herself. So a lot of sacrifice. Sacrifice on sacrifice. And then the end of the movie is there's a Mothra egg has been discovered. So I know Mothra took some pretty fatal damage in their fight with Rodan. And we see all the other Titans come together and start bowing to Godzilla. Hence the name of the movie, King of the Monsters, Doi. And then we see the Titans converging on Skull Island. And then we see a cave painting of Godzilla battling Khan. And then we see Tywin Lannister purchasing Ghidorah's severed left head in Mexico. So they're setting up the sequel big time. Although I hear that Godzilla versus Kong is already being pushed back. And I forget what I read, but it was saying like there's got to be a good reason for why, they're essentially two quote unquote good monsters. So why would they be battling each other? And I guess we'll find out, but it might have something to do with the Orca, the device that controls frequencies and all that shit. So I didn't have any drinks on the flight, but if I did, yeah, I give this a favor. I give it the bare minimum of a favorable review, 3.5 out of 5 stars. So like I said, I went to a dine-in movie theater, my first ever, to see Terminator Dark Fate. Rated R, 2 hours, 8 minutes. Released November 1st, and it opened at number 1, just ahead of the Joker. But it was out of the top 10 2 weeks later, which that is a precipitous decline from glory. Directed by Tim Miller, who directed Deadpool. Also, I just read recently that Tim Miller was at ends with Ryan Reynolds because Ryan Reynolds wanted too much control over the franchise, and so that's why Tim Miller didn't direct the sequel. FYI, if you were wondering. So this was written by Terminator Dark Fate was written by David S. Goyer, who wrote the Blade trilogy. He also wrote Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, and co-written by Justin Rhodes, who is working on the script for RoboCop Returns, which I'm hoping is not a direct sequel to the remake that came out, like, I guess in 2014 or something, with who was in that? I don't even know who the fuck was in that. But it did not look good. I think I started it and I turned it off or something like that. So hopefully this is a direct sequel to the previous RoboCop movies that came out in the 80s and 90s. And then also co-written by, it's these big blockbuster movies that have like 18 writers. I don't even know how you get a coherent script after like so many hands have touched it and so many eyes have seen it. Too many cooks in the kitchen. But this was co-written by Billy Ray, who also wrote Overlord, Gemini Man, Captain Phillips, The Hunger Games, and the upcoming Richard Jewell, the Clint Eastwood movie about that fat fuck at the 96 Olympics. I'm sure I'll live to regret saying that. Linda Hamilton returns as Sarah Connor. She did all right. I don't know. It was a little forced. I don't know. It's hard to take her as a badass when she's so much smaller than the character played by Mackenzie Davis, Grace, who's like the humanoid machine, augmented human is what they call it, but it's a human who's been like fortified with machine type stuff, similar to like Sam Worthington in Terminator Salvation. Similar to that, but not the same. Because she's almost like Arnold Schwarzenegger's height, Mackenzie Davis, and then you put Linda Hamilton. Like little old Linda Hamilton next to her. And you're like, yeah, Linda, I don't know. I know you look pretty badass in T2, sleek and deadly, but here you just, I don't know. Great entrance. Her entrance, on the scene was pretty badass, but then, I don't know. From that point on, it was all right. Schwarzenegger returns as another T800 model. The new cast members, Mackenzie Davis, obviously, the woman I mentioned, she kind of looks like Emily Blunt, to a certain degree, and someone else who I can't remember. Rounding out the new cast members, Natalia Reyes as Danny Ramos, Gabriel Luna as the Rev 9, and then Diego, I don't even know if I need to mention him. If you've seen the movie, you know why. It had a budget of 185 million, grossed 248 million worldwide, only 59.7 million dollars domestically, which is out of control. I cannot believe that. And I remember, on previous episodes of the show, I'd mentioned and I talked about the fact that Terminator Dark Fate was not tracking well, and then people were labeling it a bomb. And financially, yes, I guess you could say it is a bomb, but at the same time, story-wise, critically, the actual story was not a bomb. So what's so weird is, like, this is technically the third best film in the franchise. People will say that T2 is better than the original Terminator. And then this would come in third, right behind it. And then I guess if you want to go even further down the road, I don't know, I guess I would say Rise of the Machines, 03. And then Salvation, then Genesis. I don't know about Genesis. I kind of was half paying attention to it, so maybe I need to rewatch it. But I think people are just experiencing franchise fatigue. And with this one, they tried to do like the future is female type angle, where you have Sarah Connor, then you have Danny Ramos, who's this young girl who is about the same age as Sarah Connor in the first Terminator, and then you have Mackenzie Davis as the kind of female Terminator-esque protector. So it's a lot of estrogen flowing through this movie, and I gotta be honest. I know I'm gonna come across as sexist. Like, there were some scenes where Mackenzie Davis like shows out, and you're like, all right, fuck yeah, okay, Grace, you do your thing. You were badass, cool. There are some scenes where Linda Hamilton kind of, is able to come across as like a badass. Danny Ramos and the actress who plays Danny Ramos. I don't know, dude. I didn't work for me. I don't know. I'm just giving my honest opinion. No one gives a shit about my opinion, but I just didn't think she worked, and I didn't buy her. So non-spoilers. It pretty much follows the same formula as most of the other Terminator movies. Terminator is sent back in time to kill a target. The target is Danny Ramos in this movie, and you're trying to figure out why. And Sarah Connor's giving her theory as to why. Mackenzie Davis is kind of weirdly staying mum. She's just basically saying, like, all I know is I need to protect you. Like, she doesn't really, I guess her memory was wiped, or her memory got altered or something like that. She doesn't remember exactly why she needs to protect her, or she's keeping it secret. I think that was it. Whatever. So it follows the basic formula of the other Terminator movies. So it's, or at least T2 followed, pretty closely to T2 if you're looking for plot points and beats and stuff like that, storyline. So that's a non-spoiler review. It's entertaining. The fight scenes are awesome. There's some comedy. Arnold has some good lines, and but there's some stuff that just, it was a little hard to swallow. So here come the spoilers. If you want to fast forward, look in the description for timestamps. Danny Ramos, just as the leader of the resistance, as the leader of the revolution, this little Hispanic girl. I mean, I know I'm not supposed to, I mean, she probably beat the shit out of me. I'm a big fat pussy. I get it. But like, I'm just not, no, sorry. And, you know, the actress is like 30 in her early 30s, which is crazy because she's playing like a teenager in this movie. You know, Danny Ramos is supposed to be like 18, 16, something like that. And so the whole movie, you're thinking, oh, you know, she's just like Sarah Connor. She's carrying, you know, our old way of thinking is she's carrying or is going to carry the son, the man who will lead the resistance now that John Connor has been killed. So that's the opening scene is Sarah Connor narrating, which I thought that, you know, you want to talk about de-aging and digital effects and whatnot, that them being able to throw Linda Hamilton's face on the body double for the 1990 Sarah Connor, throwing Arnie's young face, de-aging it, and throwing it on a body double's body. And then also Edward Furlong's face and voice digitally put onto a body double stunt actor or whatever. That was like, whoa, that was incredible. I mean, that was, you know, it looked real. It just definitely looked real. Of course, like the body double playing Arnold was a little too wide and broad and jacked. I mean, it's sad to say that I know Arnie's body in and out. But so yeah, they apparently Skynet sent multiple Terminators back to kill John Connor, which makes sense. If you have the resources, why not? Strength in numbers, dude. You're not going to send one. And of course, the resistance led by John Connor, they had limited resources and limited capabilities and limited time to actually send someone back. So that's why they only sent. They probably could only afford to send Kyle Reese in one, and then they could only afford to send the T-800 reprogrammed T-800 played by Arnold in T2. Spoiler, but yeah, shocker, surprise. Skynet's a little smarter than that and sent more than one Terminator back. And so I guess between before John Connor, Edward Furlong as John Connor and Sarah Connor are able to thwart Skynet and prevent it from happening in T2, Skynet sends the other Terminator back. So while Sarah and John think, okay, we're in the clear, they're in Guatemala, this other T-800 that looks like Arnold comes up and just shoots John Connor dead, which I feel like that was more about. I think there were a couple of reasons for that. One is I think Edward Furlong has done some bad shit. I'm not going to pretend like I know all the details, but I think he's done some pretty awful stuff, and I think that was kind of like them like wanting to completely end that John Connor storyline because it's like forever tied to him, maybe. But they also wanted to pass the baton. And, you know, the John Connor storyline has kind of run its course. It's like, how many times are we going to send someone back to kill this John Connor kid? So from there, you know, Sarah Connor keeps getting these texts from some random person giving her coordinates, and she ends up thwarting all these other Terminators that are sent back in time and killing them. But they're not from Skynet. They're from Skynet's successor, Legion. So it's really just repackaging a lot of the stuff. Like, instead of John Connor, we get Danny Ramos. Instead of the Skynet, we get Legion. It's like, right, same shit, different bun. But, like, I don't know. It turns out that Danny Ramos is not carrying, like, a John Connor-esque type savior. She is the savior. She is the John Connor. And they have eventually you find out that, like, Ramos is the one who actually discovers Grace when she was a kid after the fall of humanity and takes her under her wing and coaches her and mentors her and acts as her parent, her guardian. In the future, that scene was kind of hard to swallow too, because it's like they just throw a little dirt on Ramos. They didn't really age her a whole lot. And I guess the movie primarily takes place in 2020, but the fall of humanity and when Grace comes back is like 2042. So there's like a 22-year span. But in between that is when Danny discovers Grace. So you're thinking maybe she's late 20s, early 30s. So yeah, I guess she wouldn't be that much older. But like her single-handedly defeating like 4 thugs or hooligans who were like trying to rob Grace, a tween Grace. I don't know. I just couldn't. I couldn't get on board with it. And I know how they like people wanted to box her, and a lot of probably fans of T1 wanted to box Danny Ramos into that Sarah Connor kind of trope, into that kind of silo. And so they wanted to make sure that she's different. She's not like the damsel in distress, but she's actually the hero. And I get it, dude. I don't know. So the other part that I really couldn't get on board with was like the T-800 that fucking kills John Connor doesn't have a mission after he kills John Connor. First of all, and they mentioned this on Lights Camera Barstool, no one's going. I mean, I know it's Guatemala, but at the same time, like he just shoots a kid in broad daylight, drops the gun, is able to walk away unscathed. Like what? There's no. I know it's 1998 when that happens, so maybe, yeah, I guess you can just get away with it at that point. But I don't know. Something like DNA, or I guess he doesn't have DNA. But so after that, his mission is fulfilled. So he basically gets autonomy, and like there's no directive or mission, so he can just do whatever the fuck he wants. And so he ends up saving a woman from her abusive husband and raising and like marrying her or living with her and raising her son as his own. I don't know. Then he's like a drapery installer, which some of that's funny. Like the scene where he's talking to Linda Hamilton, like they're preparing for battle and they're waiting to meet the Sarah Connor's contact in the military to get the EMP, electromagnetic pulse, because that's the only thing, I guess, that, not the only thing, but one of the things that can kill this Rev 9 robot, Terminator. And he's talking about all the kinds of different draperies and like business as usual type of thing. That was funny. And I don't mind that. It's just, it was a little hard to get on board with him, like just a fucking a Terminator robot, like having a wife and a kid, and just like, I don't know. But I don't know. Thinking back on it, I guess it makes sense that he is a machine that is supposed to obey orders, and so he carried out his mission. He couldn't deviate from the mission because he was, programmed a certain way. And then, you figure 98 to 2020, it's 22 years. Yeah, you're gonna slowly learn how humans behave, and you're gonna become more human yourself. So he still doesn't smile, and he doesn't actually really know what true love is, but he understands it. So it took a lot to hitch my car to that train, to that wagon. I just think it's so funny that now, like, Danny's been through like been through the shit. She's now wearing like the fingerless leather gloves and the smoker and the bomber jacket or the leather jacket, and like she's now like a official badass, just like Sarah Connor. Yeah, I mean, I guess they're trying to set up like a new trilogy with. I guess they're trying to phase out Arnie, is what I've heard. They don't want Arnold involved anymore, and I guess the next movie. I mean, I thought everyone was expecting Linda Hamilton to die in this, because I feel like if you're passing the baton, it's like you got to kill off Arnie for the 10 millionth time. You got to kill off Sarah Connor, can officially wipe away that storyline and introduce and segue in this new storyline with, I don't even know if you bring, like, is Grace that big a hit that you're going to bring her back? Like, are you really only focusing on this Danny Ramos character? And that's what you're building this trilogy around? What? No way, dude. Like, I think it was a cool way to kind of bring closure to Sarah Connor's storyline, I guess, but I just cannot see this going on without Arnold and without Sarah Connor. I can't. This Danny Ramos character did nothing for me. And as badass as Grace was at certain times, I mean, spoiler alert, she dies, so I don't even know if they'll bring her back. But I don't see it continuing. And maybe this is the direction that they're going. They're saying this is not. We're not going to focus on Danny Ramos, and we're not going to bring back Grace, and we're going to go in this. We're going to go in another direction because this Terminator epidemic, Legion, Skynet, wherever you want to call it, it's worldwide. It's global. So this is happening in Russia and China and Africa, Australia. Like, it's happening on every continent. It's happening everywhere. The fall of civilization. So there's millions of stories out there about people surviving and survivors and whatnot. So maybe they go in that direction. But to focus on Danny Ramos and that whole thing, do not think that's the way to go. I think James Cameron has even mentioned that the goal is to eventually show Arnold as a human, giving his likeness to the Terminator to becoming the model for all Terminators. Like, that will be the official end of Arnie's involvement in the Terminator franchise. They eventually want to do that, but I think they really have to just take it in a whole different direction. And I guess they kind of did with Salvation, and they tried with Genesis. It just, I don't know. Here's some fun tidbits. During filming, Tim Miller had to tell Linda Hamilton to stop smiling when she was firing guns. That makes me smile. I think that's funny. As reported, James Cameron has said that this is a direct sequel to T1, T2, pretty much ignoring T3, Salvation, and Genesis. However, though, T3 made it very clear that Judgment Day is inevitable and can just be postponed. It's in humanity's nature to create its own demise. The Terminator in T3 was solid and liquid, just like Rev 9 and Dark Fate. And of course, it was killed off by the hero's power source, which, yeah, okay. Salvation, an ally who's an enhanced human, sacrificed a vital component to save the hero. That was Sam Worthington's character in Salvation, Grace, and Dark Fate. And then Genesis, someone materializing on an overpass after time traveling. The idea of luring the villainous Terminator into a kill box, an aged T-800, humanized over time, and serves as an ally, and the character has knowledge of an alternate timeline. So Kyle Reese in Genesis and Carl in Dark Fate. I mean, I enjoyed it. I liked it. I think it's run its course. I don't even know how you continue this franchise and make it be, and not just run it into the ground. So I ended up watching Brittany Runs a Marathon, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. I will just say I highly recommend it. And maybe it was the copious amount of Tito's vodka I consumed, along with pickle juice, which I highly recommend. Pickle brine with Tito's vodka. But I cried a lot at the ending. And I'm sure if I were sober, I would not have cried. But this was like on par with. It happens like every 4 or 5 years, where I drink a lot, and then I just end up letting the waterworks flow. I don't know. It's from probably just holding it in for so long. I think a lot, like, the women are much better at getting rid of the surplus of tears on a consistent basis and, like, prorating it. Whereas men it's like they bottle it way too much and it all comes out at once and it's bad. I think that's the case with Brittany Runs a Marathon. It's a very emotional, moving, inspirational, motivational movie funny as hell. And Jillian Bell plays the main character, Brittany. Jillian Bell, if you remember, she's Jillian from Workaholics, who I love. I also liked her in Idiot Sitter, which was ran for 2 seasons on Comedy Central. It was just her being a doofus, which I loved. But it's premiered at Sundance, had a limited run in late August. It's streaming on Amazon Prime right now. Written and directed by Paul Downs Calazio, whatever, I don't know. If you don't know, it's about a young woman who decides to make positive changes in her life by training for the New York City Marathon before she turns 30, which 30 is that's the mark, huh? I know that, like, when I was about to turn 30, I was very much like, my life's over. What the fuck? I thought all this stuff was going to happen by the time I'm 30, and it has nothing anywhere close to that has happened. And I was very, like, depressed and despondent. And now I'm about to turn 40, and I'm like, okay, great, I'm 40. So I feel you. Struggle is real for all those people about to turn 30. Which, for women, I can understand the pressures being felt a lot more because, you're on a clock biologically to have children if you want children. But for guys, it's like, I don't even know why I got so crazy about it. I mean, it is factual that everything decreases. Like, just, libido, energy, everything. So that's when it did definitely go downhill for me, for sure. But Jillian Bell is great in this. The critics' consensus is that it's an earnest and hilarious dramedy that finally gives Jillian Bell a role worthy of her gifts, which I agree with. 89% of critics gave it a favorable review. 87% of the audience gave it a favorable review. And I love, who was it? The guy who plays Jern. I'm not going to be able to pronounce his name. But Utkarsh Ambudkar, who I think he was in that Netflix movie Game Over with the Workaholics crew, so that would make sense if that's the same guy. He played a really weird dude in that movie. If you've never seen Game Over, I don't know that I'm really spoiling it. It got like 9% on Rotten Tomatoes, but he plays like this Saudi prince or something, like some really rich billionaire dude who loves, gets off on dares, and so they dare him to eat a fat guy's ass or something like that. It just gets out of control in that movie. Yeah, but he does not eat anyone's butt in this movie. He's just a funny guy, charming guy who ends up hooking up with Jillian Bell during the course of the movie because they're both house sitters, and then he kind of, you can see he wants to turn it into a relationship, and she's like, no, I can't do that. And this is where I got a little confused, is something happened in her backstory that they only briefly touch on a little bit. They don't really get into it. There's no deep flashback or anything like that. But eventually you come to find out that her mother left her father, and he was devastated by it, and I guess he turned to drinking or something like that, and maybe he died. I don't know. They weren't really, I don't know. That it wasn't very clear to me. They probably just kind of mentioned it, moved on, kept it moving. But I definitely cried at the end of this movie. Was not expecting that. I was, as it was happening, I was like, what is coming out? What's happening to my face? What's happening to my eyeballs? What's coming out of my face? What is this liquid substance? What is, and it could not be stopped. Could not be prevented. So kudos, Brittany Runs a Marathon, for making me feel. Yeah, and Brittany and Jern end up living together, but she doesn't want to marry him despite his suggestion. Kisses him and leaves the house to go on a run. So, but when she's struggling at mile, it's 26.2 miles. I think at mile 22, she was like about to call it quits. And I was like, you know what? No one's going to blame you. 22 miles. The most I ever ran was 6, and I needed like a week to recuperate. And I ate like the entire restaurant afterwards. So 22 miles, I mean, that's something. You can put that on a bumper sticker. I don't think anyone gives a shit. But she ends up continuing for the last 4 miles. And then you see like her friend, the gay dad, Seth. And you see Catherine, who's like the divorcee, going through some shit, the former addict. And so they're on the sidelines and they're like cheering her on, saying, "We love you." And I was like, all right, I'm getting that feeling in my eyeballs, like something's gonna come out. And then you see Jern, right at the finish line, and he's like, "I love you," and it's just like, oh boy, here it comes. The levees have broken. All right, so it's Brittany Runs a Marathon. Highly recommend. It's a pretty quick watch and funny stuff throughout, and it doesn't have that stupid forced conflict that I was talking about 2 weeks ago with like what happens in a lot of comedies, rom-coms, dramedies, where it's like this came pretty much almost out of nowhere, and I feel like it's just injected because it has to be there for the audience to feel like everything's gone to shit and this is the low point and whatnot. But this low point made sense because she's training her dick off to enter the New York City Marathon for like a year, and then she has a stress fracture like weeks before. And the doctor's like, you definitely cannot run this. And so she can't run it. So it's like all this effort she's put in to run this marathon. She can't do it. She watches her friends do it. And so she ends up getting fired from the house sitting thing. And she has to move back with her sister in Philadelphia, which I also thought that was a little weird relationship. That one was kind of weird. Because it's like, I think her sister was like 11 years older than her, 10 years older. So she's like, because her sister's husband's 41, and Jillian in this movie, Brittany, her character Brittany, is like about to turn 30. So I think there's like a decade separation between her and her sister's husband. And he mentions that he like didn't go to college because he wanted to do right by her and I guess effectively raise her because her father was in such a state of shambles that he couldn't, which that's like crazy to me. I don't know, that for some reason that didn't jive, that didn't line up with me. It was like, so how long has this guy been dating her sister? Like, I guess in high school they started dating, they were high school sweethearts, and then by the time college rolls around, he can't go to college or he drops out of college to take care. Like, where's the sister? Like, that was bizarre to me. It's like the sister is just such a... And I guess they kind of tried to portray that when the first time they're FaceTiming, like Brittany and little Rel, I guess is his name in real life, Demetrius in the movie. And you see the sister come up and like Brittany says a joke and the sister doesn't get it. And you're like, oh, all right, I guess she's a space cadet. She's an airhead. All right. So I guess that makes sense, but it's just like so foreign to me. That was hard to take down. Trivia. There's just one trivia that I liked from this one. Jillian Bell actually lost 40 pounds during the filming of the movie, just like her character did, which, I never thought I'd be that invested in a fictional character's weight loss, but I was. I was like, all right, 23 pounds. All right, 35. All right, 30. It's just like, ooh, this is my life. All right, so let's talk Mets. All right, let's just talk Mets. Our quest for Yasmani Grandal surges on. And at this point, I feel like we're going to sign him when he's like 44 years old and to like a 4-year deal. And he'll give us like one good at bat in the home opener. And then he'll just die on the field. And we'll be like, well, at least we got him. But we didn't get him this go around. He signed with the White Sox 4-year deal, $73 million, which is, I guess, beyond what we could afford. Congratulations to the White Sox. Instead, we're now showing interest in Astros catcher Robinson Chirinos, who is 36. And we also have interest in another catcher named Butera, who, I don't know, spent most of his time at AAA, even though he's 36. So the projections on Chirinos aren't bad for a 36-year-old catcher. 238 batting average, 347 on-base percentage, 443 slugging percentage. He's projected to hit 20 doubles, 20 home runs, and 62 RBIs. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at. I just don't know if we want to sign him to a friggin' 3-year deal, 4-year deal, maybe even a 2-year deal. It just feels, I don't know. And now I'm reading stuff saying that like we're fully committed to Wilson Ramos. Oh, cool. Maybe, I don't know, we can get a catching coach or something. I don't know. Maybe we can augment him like Grace in Terminator Dark Fate and Sam Worthington in Salvation. But I don't know. The catching situation it's just a clusterfuck. I don't know. I can see us signing Chirinos and he pulls a hamstring the first week and we're just like, oh, back to square one. And of course, Travis d'Arnaud signs with the Braves. Of course. So many teams you could sign with, not in our division, but he wants revenge on the Mets, and God bless him. Congratulations, Travis. Can't wait to see you just like make us regret ever letting you go. According to Metsmerized Online, there's a report that Zach Wheeler could circle back to the Mets, so we gave him the qualifying offer. He said, nah, no, thank you. And apparently the White Sox, those pesky White Sox, are like the highest bidder or the most interested in Wheeler. So, I mean, I don't know how, in what world he could circle back to the Mets. I really don't know. I mean, you're going to turn down like life changing, not just life changing for you, but for your kids, and your kids' kids, and your kids. That kind of money just to come back to the Mets for the possibility of making the playoffs. I don't know. I think that's Mesmerized Online, just like poking at our false hope. Congratulations. Because, I want to believe. You got to believe. They also reported that the Mets should consider, or they recommended the Mets consider southpaw Alex Wood, who was an All-Star and Cy Young candidate with the Dodgers 2 years ago. Had a rough season last year. I think he had like a 5+ ERA. But if you look over his career, he has like a 3.4 ERA. He's projected to go 6-4 with a 4 ERA next year. He's only 28. He battled a back injury last year, which is why he had a ERA close to 6. But I don't mind it. I'd much rather just take a adequate left-hander starter, which I assume we would plug him into the starting rotation. I don't see why you would put him in the bullpen, but if we do lose Wheeler, and the possibility that we move Matz to the bullpen, I don't know. I'd much rather have 2 lefty starters. Because it just puts opposing lineups in a bind. So could be a nice, as Metsmerized said, a low risk, high reward guy, which that's basically what we have to go about doing now that this is the world we live in for the Mets. As far as the coaching staff goes, we have hired Hensley Mullins as the bench coach. He spent the last 2 seasons as a bench coach for Bruce Bochy in San Francisco. He was the hitting coach for 7 or 8 seasons when the Giants won 3 championships. And he actually spent a little bit of time with Carlos Beltran when we traded Beltran to the Giants in 2011 for Zach Wheeler. It's a small world after all. It's a small... Yeah. So that's cool. We also hired Jeremy Hefner as our pitching coach, which sad to see the Vulture go. Maybe he'll stick around as a consultant. I don't know. I haven't read where he's gone or what he's doing. But I just thought he just did such a bang up job that it's kind of sad to see him go. But maybe Hefner comes in and is able to light a fire under Syndergaard or something. I don't know. And then we'll finish Mets talk by just talking briefly about our interest in Steelers. Pirates center fielder Starling Marte. As a Gold Glover in 15 and 16. All-Star in 16 as well. His career average over 162 games is 18 homers, 71 RBIs. He has potential to steal 40-plus bases. Has a slash line of 287, 341, 452. He will be 31 in 2020, and he's projected to hit 26 doubles, 20 home runs, 69 RBIs, 23 stolen bases, which the Mets, just don't steal bases. I would just love if Ahmed Rosario just, figured it out and stole, 30-plus bases. That would be amazing. But I just, I don't know. I just don't see it happening. But to have someone that can actually steal bases, that would be pretty sweet. And he's expected to hit 277 with a slugging percentage of 462, which those are pretty nice numbers. He'd also be under control for the 2020 season and the 2021 season, I believe. He wouldn't become a free agent until 22. And honestly, I think this is our sweet spot. I think this is where we make a run in the next 2 to 3 years. I think we have it in us. We have the roster. If we have, we add Marte. We add 1 to 2, I'd say 2 bullpen arms. And then obviously you'll need an adequate starter to plug in the rotation, which I would love a lefty. So I don't know. I don't think we're big name players away from competing. We weren't last year. 4 or 6 games out. That could have been won if we had a closer. So, pick up Marte. I guess you would slide Nimmo to left. And then I guess you plug in McNeil at third. You murder Lowry in cold blood, dump him in the river. I don't know. That's why there was some article about the top free agent options at third base, and I'm like, why would you ever add another third baseman into this circus? J.D. Davis, Jeff McNeil, Jed Lowry, and then there's another one on the roster too. So I just no more third baseman, please. Hopefully Cano. I don't know. I don't know what you do with Cano. I hate to lose J.D. Davis. That stinks. I don't know. So yeah, Starling Marte, A-okay in my book. But some of these trades that they're being proposed, we're giving up way too much. Jimenez, I think, was one. One of our top shortstop prospects, which I don't mind per se because we do have another top shortstop prospect, as I mentioned in one of my previous episodes. And then, so we're deep at shortstop, so I don't mind the shortstop prospect. The pitching prospect, I do mind to a certain extent. So it's if we could just avoid that, that'd be great. And there's a lot of turnover and change in the Pirate organization, so they're trying to look at a clean slate. They want top prospects. So I think there's a match there for the trade. It makes sense. It's just I don't want to give up too much for a guy we're going to have for 2 seasons on the decline. All right, so that's Mets talk. Let's finish out the show by talking about those stupid Giants. A historic loss to the Chicago Bears. Why historic? Well, according to Bob Papa, the voice of the New York Giants on WFAN, 101.96 is the FM. Papa says that this was the first time the Giants have gone winless in October and November in their franchise history. Yikes, dude. Yikes. And if you were to ask me, hey, Neil, when did you think that the Giants didn't stand a chance? When did you think that the Giants were going to lose? It was early, folks. It was before there was even a score. I think it was 0-0. And it was 3rd and 3 at the Giants 47. Saquon Barkley ran a modified wheel route. I wouldn't call it a swing pass. It was in between like a wheel and a swing. And Jones put it right on the money, right where it needs to be, right in Saquon's hands, and he just dropped it, straight up dropped it. And I thought to myself, none of these guys give a fuck. None of these players really care anymore. They can say all they want to the press and say, we still believe and we're going to fight and we're not going to give up and da-da-da, and we feel like we're close. And da-da-da. No, you're not. You're not close. And you know it, and you're playing like it. They are. They just are. Most of them. I don't want to say all of them. Obviously, Daniel Jones is playing his heart out, trying his best. But, I think Saquon is definitely, in the week leading up to this game, he's out in the media getting quoted saying, I just want to ball and have fun. Did he look like he was balling and having fun against Chicago? No, not at all. So I think he's kind of not thrown in the towel on the season, but he's just like, I don't know what to do anymore. Pat Shurmur doesn't know how to use them. 3 targets, 2 completions, 1 yard. Dude, what are we doing? You can't. I mean, every week we're talking about how we have to get Saquon the ball in an open space. You're not able to do it in the running game. You haven't been able to figure that out, despite the obvious. Don't run straight ahead dives into the middle of the line. You're gonna have to run a little bit of misdirection. You have to pull. You're gonna have to trap. You're gonna have to do something just to create a little bit of space, just the tiniest sliver of a hole, a crevice, and he'll get through it and make a move. And when he gets to that second level, he's gone, which he showed on one of the runs late in the game. But the straight ahead dive bullshit has got to end. And then what? We're in another 3rd and short situation, 3rd and 1, in Bears territory. That's got to be a gimme. That's like a gimme. And Shurmur calls a toss to Saquon. Why are you tossing the ball back 4 or 5 yards to the outside where there are plenty of Bears there to greet him? When have we ever run that pitch or that toss and it's been successful? In the red zone. What? And that's why Pat Shurmur should be fired. I don't care if he's a player's coach and the players have his back. You continue to lose, no one's going to show up. No one's going to buy the merch. No one's going to go. Even the most loyal fans. I'm one of the most loyal fans out there, and it's just like, I don't know if I want to watch anymore, much less go to the games. I mean, the game on this Sunday, it's going to be all Packers fans. That's for damn sure. But, it's weird because Shurmur has one good series that he calls per game that makes you think, why, where did that come from? Why aren't you doing that more often? You have it in you. And you don't want to show all your best stuff. Motherfucker, you're 2-9, dude. Show your best stuff every day, every series, every week. Just throw out your best stuff. Who gives a fuck? No one's watching these games next year. If we face the Bears next year, they're not going to go back to this game and say, oh, look at all the best stuff they were throwing out there. I mean, come on, dude. Just throw out your best stuff. The end around to Sterling Shepard for 22 yards. Beautiful. The touchdown to Caden Smith. You fake shotgun. You fake the run to Saquon right. You come back left. Caden Smith is wide open because he's going from right to left underneath everything. Undercover. Dude, where is that call anywhere else in the game? But it's just 1 to 2 series per game that he absolutely nails it. And then the other series, he's just got his thumb up his ass. He's got his thumb up his nose. He's just brain farting all over the place. So, that Golden Tate. So the 2 major injuries coming out of this, Jabril Peppers is like a broken back, and Golden Tate is in concussion protocol. I tell you something. Figures. That's the kind of season it is. When Jabril Peppers comes in and returns a punt 40 yards, it looks amazing doing it, and then breaks his back on the return. And he was only in there because Golden Tate tried to return a punt like in the first quarter or something like that, and he got fucked in the face, like hard. Something flew off his head. I don't know if it was a mouth guard or a piece of his helmet. Something flew off his head. Of course, no penalty called because we're the Giants. We don't get those calls. And said the ref called like holding on us or some bullshit. And I knew as soon as I saw that hit, I was like, Golden Tate is for sure injured. He's definitely concussed. And what happens? He plays the rest of the game, and he has 3 catches for 33 yards. And on that last touchdown that he catches, I was like, he still looks like he's hurt. Like he kind of caught it, fell back, and then he didn't get up and celebrate. He kind of slowly went to his knees. I think Shep was there, maybe, or Slayton, and he's just kind of half celebrating, like slow celebrating. And I'm like, that's not the Golden Tate I know. So the Giants have a serious problem with playing guys that have concussions. They did it with Shepard. I don't know, who knows if they did it with Solder and Jenkins, but like, Jesus, you got to be better about your protocol. Like, and why are you risking these dudes, dude? We're so far out of the playoff race. There's no need to force them back into action. Yeah, so the Jabril Peppers punt return was huge. Puts us at the Chicago 29. We have all the momentum in the world. We pick up 5 yards on 3 downs. Exhibit B for Pat Shurmur getting fired. Dude, we have the momentum. Huge momentum. Huge return. You hand it off to Saquon, he gets 5 yards. All right, fine. I am a huge proponent of, you get a massive turnover, big turnover, you go for the fucking jugular. You get your offense. It's like almost programmed into the teams, ingrained in their heads. When we get a turnover in opponent territory, or whenever we get the ball, start our drive in deep in enemy territory, we go for the end zone the very next play. I mean, honest to God, like rush out in the field as soon as the referee blows the whistle, snap the ball, and go for the end zone. Attack. Be aggressive. Be aggressive. And he just refuses to do it. Handoff, dude. We're all like frothing at the mouth, foaming at the mouth, because we finally have something positive going in this game against a pretty good defense. The offense sucks, but your opportunities are going to be limited. Go for the jugular. Nope. Of course, we're a 3 and out, like a 3 and out at the 29. Ugh. And so you have to kick a field goal. And of course, Rosas obviously misses it. Diassi had a bad snap. Riley Dixon had a great hold, but Rosas pushes it right. And I'm all for getting rid of Aldrich Rosas. I think 2 out of 3 seasons you're atrocious, not even average. And I understand Lawrence Tynes was tweeting about how the average success rate is down. It's like 79%, which is the worst since 2000 or 2010, something like that. And I'm like, I don't care, dude. I don't want this guy near my team anymore. He's missing so badly. He's missing extra points, missing field goals, and it's altering the way we play the game, and ultimately affecting us and losing the game for us. And I feel for Zach Diassi. I've hung out with Zach Diassi. I hung out with him at a bachelor party in New Orleans. He was a cool dude, really cool dude, and we hit it off. So I'm not going to talk shit about him, but at the same time, it just feels like maybe this should be his last year. Maybe this should be it. Just because, I mean, the snaps were he rolled the ball back on the first one, and then the second one that Rosas missed, he put it kind of on Riley's back hip, his back shoulder. But Dixon, on both of them, did a phenomenal job of getting it down and the laces out. And, of course, Rosas pooched it. But, Rosas hits those 2 field goals. It's now 13-3, and it's 13-13, and ultimately, when we score the touchdown to Tate, it's 20-19. Or if he hits one of two, it's now 19-17, 19-16. It's just. Of course, Shurmur won't talk shit about his players, but show a little anger towards your players. You can't just keep coddling them and letting them get away with this bullshit. And I think about DeAndre Baker. They specifically called out DeAndre Baker because he lollygagged and jogged after Demaryius Thomas in the Jets game, and so they singled him out during the film review, the tape review, and chewed him out. And I'm like, yeah, I think you got to do that. I mean, we're in week 10, week 12. You're making the same goddamn mistakes that you were in week 1, and you're half-assing it. I mean, that's the big one. Not hustling is just awful. And, we pushed for Corey Ballantyne to get more playing time, him and Julian Love, and they did. Julian Love got the pick, had a big return, set us up on that one drive that went deep into Bears territory. And then Ballantyne was just getting ripped left and right. I mean, Allen Robinson had his fucking way with him. I think it was something like he was targeted 14 times and allowed 13 receptions or something like that. Just unreal, dude. Allowed 12 receptions on 14 targets. Yeah, so Corey Ballantyne, and of course there was an article that jinxed the piss out of him going into that game, saying the coaching staff and the players, everyone, just all around, they're so impressed with his toughness. And it's like, well, yeah, he got shot in the ass and he survived, and the fact that he lost his friend during that shooting and was able to come back and play is just a monumental feat. But yeah, he was getting torched left and right. And of course, DeAndre Baker, he gets benched for Sam Beal, but then when he does play, he's one of the highest graded players by PFF. It's like, oh boy, another reason to hate PFF. Leonard Williams, dude. Where the fuck was Leonard Williams? He didn't do anything. He had 1 assist. And I don't even know about hits or pressures or any of that other nonsense. All I know is you look at the goddamn box score, 0 sacks, 0 solo tackles, 1 assist. No tackles for loss. And we're going to reward this guy with a huge contract this week? What have you seen out of this guy that makes you think that he's a long-term investment? And even if he does come around and plays out of his mind in the last few games, he's going to use that to command a ridiculous salary, where I don't think defensive line really is the crutch of this team on defense. It's the linebackers and it's the secondary. Speaking of which, Marcus Golden, who's going to be a free agent, he's had at least half a sack in 8 of 11 games this season. I think he had some 2 or 3 tackles for loss. So he was one of the few front 7 guys that was able to actually play with some kind of intensity and play well. If your offense is ailing you, we are the cure. Mitchell Trubisky had 255 plus yards in a game for the first time since week 10 of last fucking year. Allen Robinson, the second, had 100 plus receiving yards for the first time since week 1. Prior to this game, DeAndre Baker had allowed 149.9 passer rating. I mean, it's almost perfect. I think perfect's 153. According to ESPN's Jordan Renan, 2 unnamed players described Baker as, quote-unquote, a handful, end quote, this season. Yikes. Quote, I've never, when the play where he jogged after Thomas against the Jets was reviewed by the team and reviewed harshly, one player said, I've never seen anything like it. The offense converted 8% of third downs. Sterling Shepard had 9 targets and 5 catches for 15 yards. What are you doing, dude? What I mean, if that's not an indication that you need to shut his ass down, what is? I just think you need to go into cruise control at this point. I mean, I know I'm not a huge proponent of tanking. I've never really liked tanking. I don't even know how you tank in football because it's like not like basketball or baseball. It's such a physical sport that if you tank, you end up hurting someone big time. So, but I am all for getting other guys reps that are healthy. And I don't think Sterling Shepard is healthy. 5 catches, 15 yards. You're averaging 3 yards a fucking catch. I mean, there was a 4th and 4 or something like that. Big time. We needed a first down, and he runs a 1 yard pattern. What are you doing, dude? I mean, that said, Darius Slayton's continuing to perform. Although now it feels like he's become Daniel Jones' crutch. Like whenever there's a really big critical 3rd down or 4th down, like you can see Daniel Jones just staring him down, forcing the ball to him. But Slayton had 7 targets, 4 catches, 67 yards, and a good route runner. I mean, he had some nice moves on the one long catch he had where he faked the outside, come back inside, and then was able to come up the seam. Saquon hasn't had 100-plus rushing yards in a game since week 2, since before the injury. And I don't know if it's like Shurmur has altered his play calling because of the injury, knowing that he can't really cut or do whatever. But, and New York Post calling Barkley the biggest disappointment of the season. I mean, yeah, okay. Barkley's the biggest disappointment. Sure. It's not the fact that our offensive line, despite, on paper being better than last season's line. I mean, it's just on paper a better line than it was last season, not being better than last season's line on the field. That's not the biggest disappointment? Okay. And Daniel Jones, there's the good and the bad. The good outweighs the bad. I say that every week, and this game was just another confirmation of that. Okay, so 21 to 36, 150 yards, not great, but he did have 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. He lost the fumble, but dude, are we really pinning that on DJ? Yes. When you watch the slow motion replay, could he have gotten the ball out quicker? I saw Barkley turn, and he could. Did Barkley not run as fast as he could have? Did Barkley not turn as quickly as he could have? Yeah. So maybe Jones is waiting for his man to get open and to run the route. So part of that might be on Barkley. But Jones needs to get ball, make decisions quicker, get rid of the ball quicker, pull the trigger quicker. And he didn't. He held on to it. And of course, Khalil Mack comes from the blind side, dude. He can't see Mack through his back. So he gets clobbered from behind and loses the ball. I mean, any quarterback who gets hit like that is going to lose the ball, cough it up. But here's another point about that play. Why the hell are we leaving Nate Solder one-on-one against Khalil Mack deep in our own territory? Now, riddle me this. Riddle me that. Why, Dad? Why? Exhibit C for Pat Shurmur being fired. You have got to put... I understand why you don't put Barkley on that side of the formation, and you have Barkley just throw a shoulder into Mack on his way out of the backfield. Just chip him. Or have a tight end, Caden Smith. Chip him. You line him up over Mack. Chip him. It's not like rocket science. But leaving him one-on-one, especially when you're that backed up in your own territory, like, come on, dude. Jones is the first Giants quarterback with 1 or more passing touchdowns in 9 consecutive games of a single season since Eli Manning in 2014. And Jones is also the second rookie in NFL history to throw a touchdown pass in each of his first 9 games. So, but he also has 18 giveaways, which is second most in the NFL. Yeah, what are you going to do? He can. I think he can fix the turnover thing. I think I've said this before. Lamar Jackson led the league in fumbles last year. He's now the friggin' MVP. Going to be the MVP this year. Here's a revealing stat I found on Twitter about our defense. Here's a list of the teams with the most quarterback sacks from 2000 to 2011. Eagles at 1, Steelers at 2, Giants 3, Dolphins 4, Ravens 5. Now here's a list of the fewest quarterback fewest quarterback sacks. I can't even spit it out because it's so hard to say and see. Fewest quarterback sacks since 2012. Number 1, the Raiders. Number 2, the Falcons. Number 3, the Giants. 4, Buccaneers. 5, Dolphins. You notice anything consistent, common theme about those teams with the fewest quarterback sacks since 2012? Raiders haven't been to the playoffs. It looked like they might have been going to the playoffs this year, and then they got trounced by the Jets. Good job. Falcons, who went to the Super Bowl. Something happened there. I don't remember what. They might have had a lead at one point. And the Bucks and Dolphins. Again, two teams that just not close to the playoffs. So that's the kind of caliber team we are. We are among the teams that have been widely considered for a long time to be bottom of the barrel laughing stocks of the league. And I think we kind of tried to address it by signing Olivier Vernon to an outrageous contract. And he got us a lot of pressures and hits, no sacks. So, and now we did the same with Leonard Williams. So it's like, what are we doing, folks? I mean, ideally, Marcus Golden doesn't ask for a ridiculous amount of money. You re-sign him and you bring in someone opposite him to rush the quarterback. And then you have Golden and someone else to rush the quarterback. Two legitimate pass rushers. Now, that other pass rusher was supposed to be Lorenzo Carter. That was the deal. And he has not taken a leap forward in year 2. He only has 20 total pressures. 58 edge rushers have more than him. 58 edge rushers. That's almost 2 per team. So he's bottom of the league in terms of pressures. He's played more defensive snaps this season than he did in a limited role last year, yet he has better numbers last year. 4 sacks, 8 hits, 7 tackles for loss, 29 total pressures, and 43 total tackles as a rookie. So he's definitely taken a step back. Now, is that on him? Is it sophomore slump? Or is it James motherfucking Betcher? And as if you weren't all riled up and despondent and haven't really brought a silver lining to your world, to your horizon. Where's the light, Neil? Where do you see the light? Well, definitely not this. Pro Football Talk reports that if fired, Jason Garrett prefers to land with the Giants. Hard pass. The hardest of passes. And Mara and Gettleman, if he sticks around, would be. I mean, we would burn down MetLife Stadium if you hired fucking Jason Garrett as the head coach. That's a promise. I will personally assemble a crew to go and commit arson on our stadium. And sorry, collateral damage to the Jets. You're gonna have to find a new place to play. But the Giants would have to disband if Jason Garrett's the coach. I mean, that's just not. And I know he has connections to the Giants, and he played for the Giants at one point. No. NFL Research tweeted that Garrett is one of 7 head coaches who has been with the current team since 2011. And everyone except Garrett has been to a Super Bowl with their current team. Garrett has never made it beyond the divisional round. Whew, boy. I don't, no, thank you. No, I'm completely fine with going to someone else and passing on Garrett. And if he goes on to someone else and does well, God bless him. NJ.com came up with 12 candidates to replace Pat Shurmur, which this is probably a fruitless exercise, but what else do we have to look forward to? Seriously, what else? I mean, this is the only thing that keeps us like interested in the Giants is like who's going to replace this motherfucker. Chris Richard. There's 12 candidates. So yeah, it's a lot. Chris Richard, Cowboys D-back and passing game coordinator, just turned 40. Dan Campbell, Saints tight end coach. He used to play for the Giants. I don't know. Robert Saleh, 49ers defensive coordinator, which the 49ers pretty legit this season. Dismantled the Packers on Sunday Night Football, which has me thinking that we might have a chance against the Packers. I know I cannot believe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, but I am, because it just seems like the Packers are in just a state of disarray, and I almost think that they could completely collapse coming down the home stretch. Vikings win the North, and then the Bears after this. The Giants are like good luck Chuck. We lose to the Jets, and now the Jets think they're going to make the playoffs. They go and they dismantle the Raiders. Okay? The Bears beat us at home, and now they'll probably win on Thanksgiving, and then they get a little surge of good luck, Chuck, good vibes. But yeah, the Packers will probably just take us apart, if we're being honest. But the Giants, even when they have a shitty season, they always have one big upset. Like last year, it was beating the Bears at home. I think the year before that, it was beating the Chiefs, who were like playoff bound. So we have one of those games on us, and it's probably going to be this Packers game. Probably. And then we'll get it's like you get excited for like a half beat, and then you remember, oh, we fucking suck still. We're not like, we're in a quagmire. Kevin Stefanski, Vikings offensive coordinator. I mean, this is the guy we should have got from the Vikings, not Shurmur. Shane Waldron at number 8. He's the Rams QB coach and passing game coordinator. I don't know. Greg Roman, the Ravens offensive coordinator, which, I mean, I don't know. I don't hate it. Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma head coach. That's a hard pass. No thanks. Nick Sirianni, Colts offensive coordinator, which I would strong recommend there. Josh McDaniels, Pat's offensive coordinator, will never happen, and I don't even want it to happen. Get that guy away from my team. Matt Rule, Baylor U head coach. Yes, I said it in a previous episode. I think he's got what it takes. He's got what it takes. Eric Bieniemy, Chiefs offensive coordinator, which I just love Eric Bieniemy. Dating back to the Colorado days, like I don't know, I just love that dude. So sure, why not throw him in? And then John DeFilippo at number 1, the Jags offensive coordinator. So plenty of candidates out there, and I mean, for the most part, all 12 of those are considerably better than Pat Shurmur. Yeah. So that does it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to try and keep this. I would try to keep this to an hour, and it's almost 2 hours. So that's on me. Follow me on Instagram and YouTube and Twitter. Screen name Real Cinch. Or just Google Giant Mess. Facebook.com/Giant Mess. Call the hotline 862-BIT 1986. And we'll see you next week. Adios, muchachos.